Welcome back. We return to our top story, a first-of-its-kind financial aid for workers who have lost their jobs involuntarily, such as those who have been retrenched. The Jobseeker Support Scheme will offer tiered monthly payouts when it kicks in next year, but only for 6 months. Now, to tell us more about this, I'm now joined by Patrick Tay, Assistant Secretary-General of NTUC. Mr. Tay, thank you very much for being here. So, first of all, how is this job seeker support scheme, how is it going to complement existing strategies? What else sets it apart, aside from, the financial and monetary support?
Yeah, firstly, I'm glad that the Ministry of Manpower is rolling this out, something which NTUC and the labour movement has been lobbying for about a decade, some form of unemployment support to help workers, particularly those who have involuntarily unemployed and trying to get back into jobs. So I think one good news that came out from this evening's sharing by the Ministry of Manpower is that this scheme will run in complement with many other existing schemes. For example, like the recently announced SkillsFuture Level Up program, and many of the existing career training and conversion programs which are available already and which will be rolled out. So I'm glad that this will run in parallel and as well as in complement with the existing schemes. So those who are keen to, take up some training can still enjoy this if they fulfill the criteria.
It is really a paradigm shift in the government's approach to unemployment, Mr. Tay. The scheme aims to support workers to find a job that best matches their skills and experiences. Is that contrary to past programs to sort of reskill into new industries?
I think one of the key features of SkillsFuture is individual initiation of training, and taking personal responsibility. And I don't think it's run in contradiction, but I think run in complement. Well, why do I say that? I think firstly, existing schemes will still continue in those growth sectors and industries. For example, like in healthcare, social services, where there's a strong demand for workers in those spaces and high growth sectors. So I think those programs will continue. That's why you have the other programs, including the career conversion programs. But this scheme is basically to give those who are unemployed a leg up, particularly if they are interested in, vacancies or jobs or areas or sectors which are not covered in those growth sectors. Well, sometimes you may have different passions and interests. So I think this gives a bit of assistance and a leg up in their daily expenses as they look for their, the right job.
What are some examples of those sectors that you mentioned?
With this job seeker support scheme, I think all involuntarily unemployed workers will be able to enjoy this support, whichever next job they are looking for. However, in those high growth sectors, we know those are where there are skills in demand, jobs in demand, for example, like healthcare, and increasingly in the community social service space. I think these are spaces where there's continued demand for workers. And I think those existing programs via the SkillsFuture, could be the career conversion programs and other related programs, will continue. And I think they should continue to feed in and find workers to enter those growth sectors.
Okay, as we've heard in the story, the payouts will be tiered with higher payouts at the start. How will the government and other tripartite partners ensure that this scheme will not be exploited?
Yeah, I think government, when promulgating this scheme, has looked at the total budget of about $200 million. I think this is something I'm pretty sure government would have analysed it and know that it's physically sustainable, and that's one. But more importantly is to ensure that when it's rolled out next year in April, we also want to make sure that those who genuinely need the assistance and help receive it. And get a leg up. So I think that's another important area. And finally, also, not just fiscal sustainability, I think this support is meant to help workers tide through the difficult period while they actively look for the next job. So I think one interesting aspect of it is, PM Wong shared in the National Day rally, besides this total of $6,000 across 6 months, is that there'll be some form of what in other parts of the world call active labour market policies. For example, attending career fairs, career coaching, employability training, and employment fairs, employment facilitation, etc. So I think with this tie-up with some of these active labour market policies, I think it will go some way to minimize some of, even the abusers, and at the same time also give a nudge and encouragement for the job seekers.
And as you've noted earlier, the government is spending $200 million on this scheme. Are there concerns that it might have knock-on effects for workers who are not retrenched? For example, like having to pay more income tax to help fund the scheme?
As shared earlier, I think government has considered this amount of support. Firstly, it should be fiscally sustainable. But at the same time, unemployment also bring with it other social costs to government and the country. So I think with this, it will go in some way to encourage people to land in the next job and to seek employment, a meaningful employment at the same time, and therefore minimize some of these other social costs, which may be even more dear and expensive.
And as per the changing needs of workers, Mr. Tay, I suppose the scheme will involve continuous innovation and collaboration among the stakeholders. How do you foresee this scheme being tweaked or expanded in the future? What's the likelihood of, the criteria or even the payouts changing?
I think it's a very, very bold first move. Like you shared earlier, it's a major paradigm shift, first of its kind in Singapore. And it will be rolled out next year in April. And the tripartite partners, including the labour movement, will partner and work closely with the government, especially Ministry of Manpower, will be seeing through this scheme. And we'll gather feedback and see how it goes. I look forward to see its implementation and as we go along, find areas where we can tweak and better the system.
And looking ahead, Mr. Tay, what is NTUC's role in this to help support this scheme? What role does it play, and how else will NTUC continue to champion workers' interests and rights?
Yeah, there are few key areas. Firstly, NTUC, through its Employability Institute, is already doing some of these employment facilitation, coaching services, advisory services, job fairs, job placements. And I think definitely we plug in with this entire SkillsFuture Jobseeker Support scheme, where active labour market policies are involved. So we will definitely play a big role there. But we also continue in other aspects because this scheme will run over and above existing schemes that are available, the government ones, as well as, for example, you may have severance payments in your employment contracts. You may be in a unionized company where retrenchment benefits are payable and can be negotiated on your behalf by the union. So this job seeker support scheme benefit or support will run over and above and augment current efforts and what's provided for.
Mr. Tay, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your perspectives. Thanks. And that was Patrick Tay, Assistant Secretary-General of NTUC.